In this short video, I wish to show how the statement, "the cultural world is primarily about the ordering and bordering of place," is affected and influenced by different cultures and issues. To begin, it is important to separate the differences in the terms place and space. Spaces and places are two very different concepts. Spaces are hollow, detached, emotionless, while in stark contrast, places are rich in cultural meaning and intimate with people. This links the ideas of culture and place being heavily intertwined, as without culture, people and meaning, places would just be spaces. As John Anderson says in his book, place has multiple dimensions, and the combination of these multiple dimensions gives us an impression of not only where we are, but also who we are. It tells us whether we belong in a particular place, that sense of feeling of in place or out of place. For example, as a Catholic, I would feel in place within my own church, but out of place in a mosque or temple. The ideas of the dual process of cultural ordering and geographical bordering occurs in all places and at all scales. Cultural ordering gives a sense of place. This can be simply created through the ideas of what gets put up on your walls and by who. For example, this could be on your bedroom wall at university or home, or on a much larger scale, a whole neighbourhood. For example, the cultural heartland of Bristol, Stokes Croft, has a completely different identity and culture from the rest of the city. Hence the process of laying down traces therefore attempts to both culturally order and geographically border places. All traces perform this dual function. Within any geographical border there is always cultural order, and with every cultural order requires and brings into being a geographical border. Thus, this ordering and bordering process attempts to define and demarcate the limits of a place, as well as the cultural group who have the power to claim it for their own. In the words of Creswell, a group can create a system where someone can be put in their place, or is supposed to know their place. There is a place for everything, and everything is in its place. By ordering and bordering a place in this way, those who have the power to establish control are not only saying who and what belongs in the place, but they are also saying who and what does not belong in this place. For example, in Stokes Croft, troubles broke out when a Tesco Express opened after a long-running campaign against it. It was said that the battle with Tesco's was an example of corporate power being stronger than the power of the government, as a city council who was supposed to work on behalf of the community did not have the bottle to stand up to the big corporations. The reason behind the troubles and riots was due to the cultural order of the neighbourhood. Stokes Croft is an edgy, alternative and bohemian area with many independent stores. The neighbourhood did not want a large capitalist company encroaching on their cultural order and way of life. This way of life is most notably shown through the large amounts of unauthorised graffiti that fill Stokes Croft streets. As you can see in this clip, and from the clip before, the graffiti is not only people's tags, but stencils are used to make quick, intellectual graffiti. Here Stokes Croft's cultural order and dominant power group shine through. It says at the bottom, "changing the character of an area," and that is exactly what this person has done by graffitiing here. When walking through Stokes Croft, I came across this graffiti, and it reads, "You can find out more information about a city by looking at the toilet walls than you can in the local newspaper, especially in Bristol." In Stokes Croft, this is clearly shown through the amount of the anti-Tesco's graffiti that is on the walls. Even though Tesco was finally set up and carried on running after the riots, the inhabitants of Stokes Croft still want to boycott Tesco, as Tesco is not part of their culture of individual alternative shops. Ordering and bordering place in this way, those who establish control are not only saying who or what belongs in a place, for example of Stokes Croft, the alternative individual bohemian shops, but are also saying who or what does not belong, the mainstream chain stores like Tesco's. As John Anderson says in his book, purifying places in this way has a number of effects. First, it gives a strong sense of place. This place is ours to defend, a place to live and maybe even a place to die for. But at the same time, bordering traces also function to exclude, clearly defining who is not part of our gang, our tribe or our place. This is clearly shown through the 2011 riots in Stokes Croft over the new Tesco shop. a shop which clearly did not hold the same values and culture that the neighbourhood in which it wished to reside. Within Stokes Croft, graffiti is unauthorised and at the heart of the cultural order of the neighbourhood. However, this cultural order has broken out of the geographical border of Stokes Croft and has flooded into the rest of Bristol. Authorised graffiti and murals have been seen to spring up around the city. Even a police station has been graffitied on through the medium of taking off dirt to leave a clean area, a positive and negative effect on the wall. The authorised mural competitions have seen a change to the cultural order to the rest of Bristol, with graffiti being seen more as art than vandalism. However, as we can see here, the graffiti artists still understand and recognise their cultural roots. By using the word offender, they acknowledge that it was a crime to graffiti originally. The ordering and bordering of culture is closely connected with the study of power. Power is expressed and sustained through the reproduction of culture, and in Stokes Croft's example, this is through the power of graffiti. Dominating power is the power which is successful in controlling or coercing the actions of others. This is the power that can make individuals act against their own interests. Through imposing a range of ordering and bordering traces, dominating power manipulates, encourages, or enforces people to act in certain ways in certain places. These signs are orders and borders. They attempt to culturally order a particular area, as well as geographically border people and actions. However, people of Stokes Croft exercise their cultural order and power by defacing these no street drinking zone signs and other signs I have shown with graffiti. In many ways, dominating power is about the power to define. Groups with dominating power define the cultural order. They get to construct conformity. Dominating power is thus the ability to define what a culture considers to be normal and appropriate behaviour. As you can see here in Stokes Croft, graffiti is seen as an art rather than vandalism. To conclude, I've shown in this short video how places are rich in cultural meaning and have multiple dimensions. I've also shown how the dual process of cultural ordering and geographical bordering can be on a variety of different scales and how in turn it is linked to place. Cultural ordering and geographical bordering defines and demarcates the limits of a place and the dominant group that has the power to claim it for their own. It is through this that I believe power to be a strongest element in ordering and bordering of culture. As an example to this, the dominating power and culture of Stokes Croft has resisted the official national and local government's power by graffitiing much of the neighbourhood. The local government, in turn, has left the graffiti as it is such a strong part of the cultural order of Stokes Croft. Some of this work is now even protected by the council, most notably the work of Banksy. Thank you for listening.